Hey, so this is our breakdown into the song Play. Let's check it out. So we're going to dive into our drum folder. Everything else is muted. And let's give it a listen. Just the drums. Pretty cool. The kick has a lot of weight on the bottom, as you could hear, but I just really wanted you to feel that kick drum along with hearing it, but mostly feeling it. Like, on a proper system, I wanted you to feel it in your chest. Up top, we have two tracks that are called keys. This is kick and this is snare. So the kick, this track is triggering certain compressors, and this track is triggering other compressors. This is when certain snares hit, and this is when certain kicks hit. We'll get more into that later as we dive into those instruments. We have cymbals up here, we have snare top, snare bottom, and then two samples blended in with those. Kick in, kick out, and then two samples blended in with those. It just gives a little bit of consistency to the sounds. One thing I didn't get into last time that I wanted to get into this time was our bussing. I got into the reverb because, as I said last time, we didn't have a proper room to record it in. So this is our virtual room, the Valhalla on the 80s setting. Let's check it out. Maybe not the most convincing, but yeah, pretty much I needed it to just sound like a microphone at the end of a room. Nothing crazy, not like a long plate delay. But anyways, so all the drums are being fed into here, this digital room. Then they're also being fed into this bus, which is the drum crush bus. It's being crushed by this plugin, the Devil Lock. It's audio level destroyer, which is a pretty good description of what it does. It just compresses, squeezes, and distorts the shit out of these drums or whatever you put it on. And this is what that sounds like. You could almost hear Ryan's chair squeaking because of how much it's bringing up those little sounds in the background. Then I have this reverb, which the snare's going through. And this one is supposed to be like a proper affected reverb, pretty long. Let's check it out. And then so all of that, it's being fed into this bus. I didn't even have this plugin on when I, sorry about that. But yeah, it should be sounding like this. And then all of that, it's being fed into this bus, which is a virtual tape bus. So the drums and also there's other instruments being fed into this virtual tape machine because they all sort of affect each other when you're compressing things together. And we'll get into that later because there's other instruments involved. But that's the drums. This is our bass. We have our DI. That DI, which is going through a virtual amp. And then a microphone on Nunzio's amp, which is it's the beta microphone. For a little more thud on the bottom. And then when the chorus comes in, I have this virtual drive. Just for a little extra bite when that comes in. That's all being fed into this bass summing bus, which is, I have compressors and does it look like, no, okay, this is not being triggered, but yeah, it's just a lot of plugins, mostly because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing half the time. I'm just sort of feeling around in the dark. I'm throwing, I'm like carving out EQs, and there's a good chance that there's an EQ somewhere over here or, something where I'm actually boosting, and it's not because I have some grand master plan of what I'm doing. It's just because I'm just carving out, boosting, just feeling it out until I like what I'm hearing, and it's not always methodical. So yeah, that's our bass sound. We're gonna bust into our strings. There's not really anything to see here because this is another one of the situations where my session was getting so bloated and buggy because there was just too much going on, and I had to condense everything. I had to just commit my strings. So there used to be violin one, 2 tracks each for that. Violin two, 2 tracks each for that. Violin three, viola, yada, yada, yada. But I just bounced it into this for simplification. But if you want to check out how that sounds, this is how it sounds. Jane had so much fun recording this because, well, it's just they're really fun parts, and there's a lot of just like shredding. She gets to shred in ways that she doesn't usually get to shred, and they're very expressive. And I mean, I had a lot of fun recording her. She just killed it on this, as she always does, rather. So yeah, so that's our strings. Sorry, there's not much to see here. But so far we have strings, bass, drums, and okay, let's get into keys and synths. Starts off with this organ sound. And it's basically, this is organ where I rolled off the attack, as you could see, the transient. And so this track is a wet version of this track. And as the song, as like right before the vocals come in, these creep in and then cut out. And this is like crowd noise in a restaurant. So yeah, the song itself is about like those awkward early stages of being with someone, like the whole ritual and the things we do that don't always seem like us or feel like ourselves, but we just do them because it's what is supposed to be done, I suppose. But I just pictured like the crowded room, the song itself, like all the noise just sort of creeping in and then just sucking out, and then all of a sudden it's just me speaking to the person that I'm speaking to in the song. If that makes any sense. Okay, so we have our organ, we have these synths. We have these bells. It's funny, actually, these were in the demo, and I took them out because I thought it just might be like cluttering. Well, because the guitars as well, which you don't hear right now, but Seamus requested that they be back in. He said something about like the bell, like that sound reminded him of like a bell that you hear like in a restaurant, I guess, when an order is done. I don't know, but I left it because he wanted it there. We have these harps, 4 different tracks for a harp because, well, check it out. The way it pans around your ears. And yeah, because I wanted the sustain to be panned a certain way, I didn't just automate it to just go, left, right, left, right, left, right. So far left, you have this string. A little bit closer to the center, but still left. And then a little bit closer to center, but a little bit right. And then far right. let's see, we have our what I call wubbas. This is our bass wubba, which is pretty it's pretty upfront in the mix. And this has two compressors because one of the compressors is from the kick and the other one is from the snare, just at different levels. And then this comes in a little bit heavier. Brass wubba. So this is tricky because this in itself is like it's a bass, right? But then, eventually, the bass guitar comes in. So let me just solo that, because when you have a lot of low-end stuff going on, it gets a little scary because you're afraid to clash, but... And the way I was able to make them work and not clash with each other is basically every time that bass guitar hit, I had the low frequency cut out a little bit. So there wasn't too much low end information that was clashing with each other. Yeah, and just a bunch of synths. Arpeggiating piano, which is being triggered by, looks like the kick. And that's, you know, working along the harp. Okay, so getting into guitars. Nothing crazy. We have 3 microphones on the Fender amp. A 421, a SM57, and then I forgot what this microphone was, but it was sort of just like off in the room. I have these two, somewhat left, 25 left, and then the far room mic all the way right, just to create a little bit of a stereo feel. And then that's being fed into this bus, which is where I'm doing my EQing and compression. So basically throughout the album, there's like 2 amps that we really leaned on, which was the Fender amp, Hot Rod, or Deluxe rather, sorry, and my Bogner Shiva, and this is the sound of the Shiva. And this I have like a pitch pedal, virtual amp. Just to make this a little bit more unique. And pre-chorus. And then the chorus, we got these like chugging guitars. Along with this guitar. By the way, I don't know if I got into this before, but that was just a reverse snap. Take a snap, verb it out, print it, then reverse it, and then you get this leading up to that snap. And yeah, okay, back to guitars. We get into this little triplet riff. So every amp, pretty much, every performance, we had a room mic, right? And it's a very small room. It's the size of, a big closet, a walk-in closet, we'll say. So it's not really a room mic, but just a little bit of extra whatever. So for this, I pushed that room mic back by what looks like an eighth note, but it just adds a little bit of delay to the sound. And yeah, and this one's panned all the way right. It's faint, but it just gives a little bit of stereo picture. Yeah, so that's basically guitars. We'll go to the vocals. Along with the crowd noise and the wet organ effect, I have this affected wet vocals reversing and swelling into the first verse, which sounds like this. We meet for drinks at daytime for the first time. So my hope was for this to sound like I had a small like doo-woppy group of girls behind me, but really it's really just two girls that I'm friends with. I'm just lucky enough to be friends with these people. One of them is actually George's girlfriend, Danielle, and Jen, who is my girlfriend's sister-in-law. So yeah, I just lucked out. I know talented people, but this is what she sounds like. Let's go to, what does it sound like? And Danielle. So this is also committed from what it originally was to some degree, because each of these files is two performances, and I had already committed my panning. And then at the end, this is called J group because this is a group of me, which I'm like, I don't even want to solo, but I will because it's embarrassing. Actually, not that embarrassing. But yeah, this is actually from a demo. This is what I showed the girls line by line, because again, this is all broken out into different sections. It was like there as a placeholder for the girls, but I added it in certain sections more than others, just to make it sound like more people than there actually was. But for the bigger parts, I mean. Okay, at the end, we have this beautiful choir of the two girls and a couple of me, along with some claps. Like I said, they are beasts of singers, and that riffing is Danielle. She is such a monster vocalist, as you can hear. After I had her do all these parts, I was like, okay, now can you please just like do a couple where you're just like going nuts at the end, just like super soulful riffing, and she just like ripped a couple of these lines, and I wanted to use all of them because they sounded so good. But yeah, that's the vocals. And that's a song. I hope I got into everything because last time I felt like I left a couple things out. But I hope you enjoy, and I hope you enjoy the song. This one was very different for us, but it just got to. I don't know. I love all different types of music, and I want to scratch every itch. I don't want to be limited by what people think we're gonna do or people think we're capable of doing. I like certain I like many different types of music, and so I want to make many different types of music. And so yeah, I hope you dig it. Bye.